Well, hello and welcome to the stream. Let's go ahead and see what we're going to get into today. We're going to do a little bit of art bell, and this came out on January 27th, 1998. And this is going to be part 3.
CAMPANE, elecampane root, which seems to help the coughing, but it's completely resistant to antibiotics, or at least the antibiotics we've got. Usually, because Australia's summer is our winter, these drug companies go down to Australia and pick up strains of the flu viruses down there, and then come up with flu shots for them, and then come back up to the United States. And
somehow they miss Sydney type A.
And they supposedly miss it, right? But once again, I will reiterate the rather suspicious nature of this flu is this is a 5th incarnation or a strain of the original Spanish influenza virus, which killed 25 million people approximately 86 years ago, between 1918 and about 1922. The World Health Organization a year and a half ago, and this was in Omni magazine and on the front page of the LA Times, Spanish flu victims, Irish Spanish flu victims, were pulling the virus out of their lungs and growing Spanish influenza in laboratories because, strangely enough, there was no immunity to this particular type of flu.
We've lost our minds.
And they were worried that this flu would actually get out and that there would be no immunity to it. And of course, people get infected with it. And, the World Health Organization and the Center for Disease Control are already rather suspicious organizations, if you believe the accusation of what's going on with the AIDS virus, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought it was, and I remember printing it in the newsletter thinking, oh my God, are we insane? What the hell are we doing? And you watch if this flu doesn't break out or somehow either get out of the laboratory or is somehow purposely injected into the population. What I've seen in the future, as far as the long-term aspect of this, is that there are great plagues that sweep the world and kill millions of people around between 2005 and about 2009 or so. But that's a long ways off. You are seeing right now the beginning of these plagues, of which there's going to be one after another, which it just seems that it's just not going to end.
Now, you do predict a cure for a serious sexual disease, possibly AIDS?
It's going to be, here's the biggest thing about this year. Right now, as a matter of fact, I think it's very unique that you and I are speaking tonight. Something always amazing always happens when you and I connect. Is that yesterday, we had Neptune move into Aquarius for the first time since 1833. So for the first time in well over 150 years or so, we have Neptune in Aquarius, we have the Sun conjuncting Aquarius, we've got Uranus in Aquarius. So the biggest thing that's going to go on is going to have to do with electromagnetism. And here's the difficult part, Art. You and I both know that there are cures for these various diseases out there. That there are electromagnetic cures, that there are various types of cures for AIDS, for virtually everything that ails mankind, right? It's just a question of, is the establishment going to find it in their lexicon, so to speak, to allow these to trickle down to us, peasants at the bottom of the string. My mother is president of the National Health Federation for 22 years. My stepfather ran a number of anti-cancer clinics down in Tijuana, the Clinic of Sidell, the Good Samaritan Clinic he owned. So I know that there are cures for this. It's just a question of when legitimate medicine is going to open up. Now, the biggest thing that's going to happen this year is you're going to see advances in electromagnetic medicine. Already, they're using prototypes of a type of electromagnet that is actually curing epilepsy. They're basically going to find that, and this is down the road, but that all disease has a very specific frequency, that it has a light, a color, and a frequency.
Sure.
And you can actually shatter that disease by simply bombarding the body with the opposite frequency.
Well, they better get to it. The way it's going, they better get to it. And listen, you're going to be on hard copy as a result of your appearance on this program and your prediction about President. When are you going to be on hard copy, and what did they cover?
It's going to be Monday on hard copy. As a matter of fact, Wayne Darwin, who's the producer on it, is a friend of mine. He actually took over a strange universe after I left and Bert Kearns moved in. But we're also going to be covering the Phoenix Lights thing. We're going back out to Phoenix to try to get all of the new stuff of what was going on from January 11th to the 14th of the mothership so in Phoenix again. And specifically what we covered is, we talked about Clinton, we talked about how he was inaugurated the Air Force Moon, that he'd be out of office again, I think by August. And a lot of the similarities between Nixon and this is that there are great plagues that sweep the world and kill millions of people between 2005 and about 2009 or so. But that's, a long ways off. You are seeing right now the beginning of these plagues, of which there's going to be one after another, of which it just seems that it's just not going to end.
Now, you do predict a cure for a serious sexual disease, possibly AIDS.
It's going to be, here's the biggest thing about this year. Right now, as a matter of fact, I think it's very unique that you and I are speaking tonight. Something always amazing always happens when you and I connect, is that yesterday, we have Neptune move into Aquarius for the first time since 1833. So for the first time in well over 150 years or so, we have Neptune in Aquarius, we have the Sun conjuncting Aquarius, we've got Uranus in Aquarius. So the biggest thing that's going to go on is going to have to do with electromagnetism. And here's the difficult part, Art. You and I both know that there are cures for these various diseases out there. That there are electromagnetic cures, that there are various types of cures for AIDS, for virtually everything that ails mankind. Right? It's just a question of, is the establishment going to find it in their lexicon, so to speak, to allow these to trickle down to us, peasants at the bottom of the stream? My mother is president of the National Health Federation for 22 years. My stepfather ran a number of anti-cancer clinics down in Tijuana, the Clinic of Sidell, and the Good Samaritan Clinic he owned. So I know that there are cures for this. It's just a question of when legitimate medicine is going to open up. Now, the biggest thing that's going to happen this year is you're going to see advances in electromagnetic medicine. Already, they're using prototypes of a type of electromagnet that is actually curing epilepsy. They're basically going to find that, and this is down the road, but that all disease has a very specific frequency, that it has a light, a color, and a frequency. Sure. And you can actually shatter that disease by simply bombarding the body with the opposite frequency.
Well, they better get to it. The way it's going, they better get to it. And listen, you're going to be on hard copy as a result of your appearance on this program and your prediction about President. When are you going to be on hard copy, and what did they cover?
It's going to be Monday on hard copy. As a matter of fact, Wayne Darwin, who's the producer on it, is a friend of mine. He actually took over Strange Universe after I left, and Bert Kearns moved in. But we're also going to be covering the Phoenix Lights thing. We're going back out to Phoenix to try to get all of the new stuff of what was going on from January 11th to the 14th of the mothership over Phoenix again. And specifically what we covered is, we talked about Clinton, we talked about how he was inaugurated in the Air Force Moon, that he'd be out of office again, I think by August. And a lot of the similarities between Nixon and Clinton. I pointed out the things with the plane where do a thing on that where the Air Force One, he was then transferred to the 707 that Nixon went on after he resigned, and then the next 707 he transferred on was the one that JFK's body was flown from Dallas. So
all of that's going to get covered.
Yeah, that's another thing they're going to cover, and just a lot of the similarities between Monica Lewinsky coming out of Watergate and Nixon getting tied up with tapes and Clinton getting tied up with tapes. I said again that, on the show the last time, that I think that Clinton's going to resign due to health reasons. Heart attack, nervous breakdown. He's going to, once again, one thing after another is going to happen, which is what's going to eventually bring it down.
All right, let's move on. Wildfire Line, you're on the air with Sean David Morton. Hello.
Hello, and what an interesting guest, and what an exciting life news.
Oh, good.
Me or Art leads an exciting life. Right?
Oh,
My house is right.
I was wondering, Sean, you briefly mentioned something about they wondered what really happened to Hitler. I just caught that when you were talking. That would be interesting to know what you said.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll give you what I discovered in the book just real quickly. I had a chance to interview Helga Christensen, who was Hitler's personal secretary about 6 weeks before she died. I also interviewed another woman named Magda Stapleford, who lives in Tucson, who was the #3 person in the SS who then defected to our OSS directly after the war and actually married her opposite number in the OSS. According to her, she says that Hitler, Bormann, and one other high official were surgically altered in September of 1943, and that they were then smuggled out of the country to Bremerhaven. And he supposedly was given sanctuary, both Bormann and Hitler were both given sanctuary by the Vatican. And Hitler then disappears and actually lives in Vatican City, actually directed the archives there, which allowed him to then process literally billions of dollars in priceless artwork. And he pops up as a priest in a place called Cuenca, Ecuador.
What about the bunker? What about the fire?
Well, there were four, according to Magda, there were actually four doubles of Hitler that were not only surgically altered to look like him, but also they had their bones broken in the exact same place but Hitler never, after September 1943, Hitler never gave a public address, not once. And that's because Hitler was long gone. Anyway, just to make a long story short, supposedly, and one of the photographs that I'm going to be running in the book, and probably something I might want to send you, Art, to put up on your website, is an actual photograph of this man, Father Crespi, and I'm telling you, it's him. I mean, send me the photograph. The ears are the same, the eyes are the same. The only thing that's different is that he chose a very large Semitic-looking nose, which is what they altered his face with. And when Father Crespi died he was like 102. He died in 1993. He was sitting on probably $1 billion worth of artwork, 4,000 priceless pieces of art that had been looted, that literally had the Louvre and various designations embedded directly on the backs of the piece of art. And they were loaded in a couple of Vatican 707s and shipped back to the Vatican when he died in 1933.
Enough said. Get me that photograph. I'll get it up on the website. And by the way, while we're on the subject, isn't it about time that you got a website?
Yeah, no, it's all 20th century stuff. I suppose I'll eventually get one. A lot of people have been saying, Sean, get a website, but it's just, I don't know, I'll get there. As soon as I can figure out a way to maybe make some money off the website, I'll figure out how to do it.
All right, I've got a very good webmaster. Call him. He'll fix you up. In the meantime, get it to me and we'll get it up there, of course. Eastern Rockies, you're on there with Sean David Morton. Hello.
Yes, good morning. This is Frank from Ocean City, Maryland. Hey, Frank. Morning. I hope you gentlemen are well. Oh, we're coughing, but we're okay. That's well, so am I. I'm just getting over not the flu. I was lucky. I just had a bad cold. But I'm going to throw something by you. With your success, Sean David, in predictions, I've run this through my mind over the period of years now. And if you look at Revelation, and where it looks like we're really going into the area of time just prior to Revelations, when you're looking at the floods, the incident of major earthquakes, droughts, the crazy weather. It's been 48, 50 degrees here for the last 3 weeks, right, in midwinter. Isn't it not the weight of an object, let's say an object, plus the distribution of the weight of the object? We're talking about the Earth now, plus the speed of the object that keeps it in orbit. Yes. If the weight decreases, would not the orbit decay, throwing the object, the sphere, into space, or draw it into the sun, or cause it to begin to wobble and destroy itself? Well, the weight decreases, but the planet is always going to be 2/3 water, 1/3 land. Well, what I'm getting at, if you look at over the period of years with the billions upon billions upon billions of tons of oil, coal, precious metals. Oh yes.
Yeah, but the mass though remains the same. We may burn it; it just changes.
Yeah, it changes, and then it just sort of trips back into the. I don't think it floats out into space.
So now, if you want to ask about Earth changes and earthquakes, Sean, what do you have to say about that? What's coming?
We went into that. I need to get my notes out again because we went into that. On the show the last time.
It's generally going to be active.
This year is going to be actually relatively mild, as I said. One of the things that I was talking about was a couple of interesting things that are happening that we talked about the last time. The first thing is I talked about that flu in Alaska. I wrote down the name of it, but there was just a series of earthquakes there just today, actually. There's also I talked about a place by the name called Kellogg, the Yukon near Kellogg, fires in August, earthquake activity in the Aleutians near Port Muller. There was some substantial activity actually there today, and I think that that's a precursor for a much larger quake in Alaska, March and April. We really have to go like point by point.
We've also got Etna coming alive. We've got a volcano that seems to be brewing off the Oregon coast right now.
Yeah, there's a huge one actually directly, you're right, off the coast of Oregon, Washington. That's an oceanic quake. But in some ways that's good because it's actually taken a lot of the pressure off of Mount Rainier and Mount Baker, the land-based quakes. It's bad in the fact that if that ruptures and blows, you're looking at tidal wave activity through Washington and Oregon. The biggest trigger for this is going to be, once again, I predicted the eruption of Montserrat. Montserrat is just the beginning of a chain or a pattern that Montserrat blew approximately 14 months before Mount Pilay blew in 1902. So you're looking at the exact same pattern as happening again with Mount Pilay. So you're going to see the eruptions, very soon eruptions of Etna and Vesuvius, but in that chain, you're going to see Mount Pilay is going to go on the Isle of Martinique. You're going to see Etna and Vesuvius begin to erupt. You've had an entire series of earthquakes in Italy, which is going to bring about political, religious, and all the geological changes as well.
Listen, we've got photographs on that now. Hold on, right where you are, Sean. We'll get back to you right after the break. I want to tell everybody once more, because of the volume of information in the program you are hearing right now, and that will continue for yet another hour. If you want to get a copy, and I know gazillions of you do, but you have a 24-hour number, and you can order a copy of this show and sort of take it apart piece by piece. The number is 1-800-917-4278. Operators are lounging about now, waiting for your call. 1-800-917-4278. This is Coast to Coast AM. Why does he think there has been a NASA cancellation of all manned flights to the moon and Mars? Now, they may be backtracking on this a little bit, but the other day they, in fact, announced a virtual quarantine that we would not go to Mars, we would not go to the moon with men or anywhere else for that matter for a long time. Any thoughts on that, Sean?
Well, I mean, the first primary thought is that we've already got bases up there, that we've got probably 25 to 5,000 working personnel on at least the moon. I've seen photographs taken by Apollo 11 of gigantic shuttlecraft that were taken in 1969, and I've got eyewitness testimony of scientists who worked on very, very large shuttlecraft technology. As I think the earliest last time was 1967 or so. There just does seem to be there's three levels of technology. There's the civilian level of technology, which is all the junk that doesn't really work. There's the military level of technology, which is about 10 to 15 years ahead of anything that we've ever heard of. And there seems to be a shadow level of technology above that. That seems to be a technology where not a single technological advance made by man over the last 500 years or so has ever been allowed to be lost. And that there is possibly a group of secret societies or a gang of very, very wealthy families that have been operating, consolidating their wealth and their power for not just dozens of years, but continually hundreds of years, that have actually developed a Star Trek 24th century level of technology that's being used. Now, I don't know anything about Mars because I've never actually seen any photographs or had any proof. It seems like every time we send stuff up to Mars, it either disappears or gets eaten or vanishes, and so there might quite conceivably be something or someone else up there. But the problem is that they can't allow our technology to evolve. The whole trick of all the UFO stuff and Area 51 and everything else, and why people should be upset about it, is because at some point, probably in the 50s or 60s, government figured out what gravity is. And that statement is not what gravity does, but what it is. And they've learned how to generate gravity exactly like they would generate microwaves in an oven or x-rays in a machine. And once you understand what gravity is, the game's pretty much over. You can travel in time, travel in space virtually instantaneously, and then you develop incredible technologies that will basically wipe out the entire socio-political economic structure of the fossil fuel-based system.
There you go. All right. Well, here's what's going on right now. We have a craft circling Mars right now, a barrel break to get circling Mars. It will soon begin to send back high-resolution photographs of the phase on Mars and the artifacts around the phase on Mars.
I doubt it will happen.
Now we've got Ben Flandrin, who is deeply involved in this project, saying, look, folks, get ready, because what's on Mars, the phase is not natural. It's going to change everything we know. Prepare yourselves. That's pretty serious stuff, and I'm wondering if this spacecraft is going to suddenly run into a brick wall
or suddenly just disappear.
That's right.
Brookings Institute put out a report in 1962. It was a white paper that said NASA that within 30 years that we would encounter extraterrestrial archaeology or extraterrestrials themselves. At all costs, that information must be covered up because they felt that it would destroy the personal, psychological, and religious systems of mankind. At the end of the revolution of Copernicus taught us that we're not the center of the universe geographically, but we still believe that we're the center of the universe spiritually. And I think government has some sort of agenda to not dissuade us of that belief.
Exactly right. Could you be more wild card line? Sean David Morton, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. This is, I'm calling from suburban Milwaukee, Wisconsin, WCNK. And I have a message for you about we think your program is so far above any other type of programs. And I immediately got a very, very strange and troubling vibrations, and I am quite psychic. I get this through music, and I wondered if your guest got any such feelings when he heard of your brand new associates.
Associates. I just wanted Art to loan me some money.
No, my vibes are all good on this score. We're very, very proud of people at J4 and the company.
I think it's just great that you're just getting the recognition that you deserve, and that you definitely are a jewel in the crown of whatever company is going to be associated with you, Art. And I'm just, I'm proud of you, and I just hope your audience just appreciates what an amazing and incredible service that you do. And you really are the best there is a way to do it. I'm not just screwing you because you're my pal. I'm just saying that, you're great at what you do, and I really appreciate you, and I'm glad everybody else does too.
Thank you, my friend. Eastern Rockies, you're on the air with Sean David Morton. Hello. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Where are you? Good show. Right.
Joseph from Indiana, WS Radio.
Yes, sir.
Great show, Art.
Thank you.
I'd like to get back to the computer crashes.
Oh, you may.
If one does not want to accept cards or implanted chips after the computer crash, will everybody have any value?
I don't know. The only reason I think that paper money will still have some value is that the cash is going to exist because you have so many people in very, very high positions still dealing with so much drug money that they have to be able to have that slush fund, if you will. But it's eventually going to come down to, the old thing about how people throw gold and silver into the streets. And, it eventually comes down to what the really is about each of the stuff. And that's basically what you know and who you know. It's going to be all about the knowledge and family. And that's eventually what anything always comes down to.
Richard, the second part of my question is wondering any suggestions on how to weather these times monetarily?
Yeah, that really is a good question, not just monetarily, but weather the times, period.
And the biggest thing on that right now is that, as I said, you're going to continue, I think, to see rises in the stock market. There's going to be a lot of money until October, I might add. And I think that there's going to be about the third week of October, there's going to be an implosion of the market. I still think you're going to see the market go to 10,000, possibly. The ultimate ceiling is about 12,000 or so. And that's only if they manage to convert Social Security into some form of investment mutual fund. The best investment right now, and bar none, and it's one of the things that I'm putting my cash into, is pre-1933 gold coins. And the best reason for that is because they're so incredibly low right now. What's the price of gold now, Art?
Oh, it bottomed at about 280. It's hovering around 300, I believe.
Yeah, it's going to be, and that's just because the stock market is so strong. The reason you want to get pre-1933 gold coins is because they're grandfathered and are not covered by the Federal Gold Confiscation Act.
That's right.
So if you get the $20 gold pieces, if you get the silver gold pieces, right now they are so dead low as far as the price goes. It's going to be one of the best investments of the year. Unless you know how to pick technology stocks, because there's going to be a lot of medical stocks that are going to be skyrocketing. Entertainment stocks are going to be going through the roof. This is going to be one of the best years ever for Hollywood. That's very short-term stuff. In the long term, where you're living at in Indiana, it's always good to have hard currency on hand, and know a lot about how to grow food and how to build buildings, and learn how to do practical stuff with your hands.
If the gold rule is so high, I don't know whether it's a market or gold.
In the long term and long run, as I said, it's going to be, and you're going to see this as early as the beginning of next year. People beginning to form spiritual communities that are not going to be based on old style monetary values. It's going to be an entirely new way of thinking and a brand new way of dealing with life.
All right, Western Rockies, you're on the air with Sean David Morton. Hello.
Hello, this is Tom calling from Kailua, Hawaii.
Hey, aloha.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
I have a question for Art and two questions for Sean David Morton.
All right, hit me with it.
Okay. Art, I was wondering if you ever got to read the mail or listen to the tapes about the Bible End Time Prophecy Perspectives.
That you said?
Yes.
I believe that I have them. Yes, I do have them.
But not to read or listen yet.
Not yet. No, they're in a stack, my friend, but we'll get to them.
Okay. And in regards to the construction of the pyramids, I said something wrong about that said it's no mystery.
All right.
That according to the Bible book of Numbers, chapter 2, verse 32, we can know that the Israelite slaves' labor was in the hundreds of thousands of manpower.
Well, yes, you would agree then with Azahiel Wasu says there is no mystery about how they were built. He demonstrated that to me. Listen, you have a question for Sean?
Yes. Also, one more thing about a prior show you had about the cloning and why Israel supports cloning.
Yes, cloning.
Yes, you know about the red heifer that
yes, I do, sir.
Came. Of course, they're very rare, and if you were going to resume temple worship, you would need a resource of them.
All right, time is very short, so let us move to a question for Sean if you've got one.
Yes, the question for Sean is that according to Christ's prophecy to John in the book of Revelation, there are at least 4 future prophetic events that need to occur before the world comes to the Antichrist being in power over one world economic, political, and religious system. And these include the Gog-Magog War, which is a Russian-Islamic coalition, the rapture of the Christian believers, a peace agreement proposed by the Antichrist, and the rebuilding of the Jewish temple. And in light of all these events, spanning approximately 4 to 7 years, it seems that your timing is off on that 1999 prediction, which, if you could go over that again, and one of these
in a minute, eh? It doesn't have to be in that time frame. Like I said, I think what's going to happen is that there's no specific time frame given in Revelation. It's given in Daniel. You have to. There's a time, half the time of either some people say 3.5 years, other people say 7 years. Those could also be prophetic days. Specifically, God, this is a very hard question to answer. I'm not trying to duck the question. It's just it would take a really long time to answer this question. You've got the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The first horseman, there's debate as to whether or not that horseman is actually the man on the white horse is actually the gospel of God knowingness, or the gospel of the Christos. The second horseman being the man who rides the black horse, who has he's got a set of scales that specifically leads to an antichrist. It's a financial antichrist. It's a person who sets up a financial system that specifically talks about the antichrist breathing life into the beast, which I think, and the number of the beast is 666, which relates to human DNA, which specifically would be a biocomputer of some kind, which is exactly what we've been talking about as far as the beast computers, the battle engagement area simulation computers, which are DNA computers. I think that they're actually living organisms. The rest of your question is so hard to answer because I think we're entering a 40-year exodus period. I think from 1999 until the coming of the messianic figure that's predicted by the Great Pyramid, that doesn't happen until the year 2034. We got a long way to go, and we might not even be in the millennial period. We might be in a 1,000-year period now, according to the time code of the pyramid. But this next 1,000 years is a pre-millennial period, and that the true millennium doesn't actually come until 2989, which is when the Tibetans talk about the real Lord Maitreya, the true Maitreya, or the true Christ actually comes with the capstone of the pyramid is returned, and the first word city of Jerusalem actually comes down from the sky. It doesn't happen until most of the year 3000. So we have a long ways to go.
He also broached the subject of cloning. We've got Dolly, we've got the people switching monkey heads, we've got oh my gosh, we've got all kinds of things going on. Dr. Steve wants to clone human being in the next 90 days.
That's good. It's going to start happening. What I see in the future, and I published this a couple of times in the newsletter, is that there's like an army of clones that apparently people have to hunt down or track down. This is about 20 years in the future. The initial application for this is going to be in the cloning of human organs. And that's a technology I've already seen demonstrated by a man by the name of Dr. George Merkel in Texas, who's actually who can clone a kidney or clone a heart and use it as replacement. I think that's going to be the rational first application of cloning is to be for organ transplant.
All right, first time caller line, your turn with Sean David Martin. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, you're on the air, sir.
I'm first time caller. I had a question for Sean.
All right, you're on radio off. That's number one. Radio off. And tell us where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Texas. Okay, Texas. Okay. I was wondering. Okay, earlier you were talking about the aliens coming from the future coming back here, and I just said racing or something. I just said it was a theory, boss. I was just saying that one theory is that from subcontactees they've claimed that these are beings from something like 5,000 years in the future who are coming back to get genetic materials and water and food and all that. And just I was relating one story from a contactee. We don't have any idea where exactly they're coming from. Well, according to this contactee, they were coming from Earth. Okay, from our future, and they were coming back to get certain, genetic materials because the Earth has become, sort of dead 5,000 years from now. Okay, I see. And I had a second question also. Sure. I was wondering, do you think any of that has to do with what's going on with the quarantine that they've imposed on us, on Earth? With math and all that stuff, and what's going on with the.
Well, we really already answered that question. The quarantine, if you want to think of it as a quarantine, and I guess you can, is because we really have all the technology that will allow us to move as we will anyway. We're on the moon already, you said?
Yes, and I think that's what Area 51 and Pine Gap and all these top secret bases are all about. that we're freely coming and going from the moon using this technology, and that there are bases on the backside, and there's Tycho Brahe, King Crater. There's bases all over the moon and structures, and I think we've reactivated ancient structures that have been there for a long time.
It's interesting. I got a call from John Lear the other day. John, who I've not heard from in so long.
Yeah, he's been wow.
He's getting active again, and
that's great.
You know what he said? He said, Art, I talked about Lazar, and I pointed all these things out on the moon that I'm seeing, that I've documented, and Lazar said, look, if there's stuff up there on the moon, the stuff you showed me out there, I'll kill myself. And he wrote that down on a piece of paper, Lazar did. And then he went and did research, and he got a whole bunch of stuff on the moon, came back to John and said, look what I've gotten. Of course, John said, well, then you've got to kill yourself. And Lazar said, no, that's the stuff we found on the moon. This isn't stuff I found on the moon.
There's so much stuff out there, it's not even funny. I wanted John Hackford again because he's one of the great grand old men of this entire field, and everybody goes in the desert.
We'll be right back. Haley wants to know what the frequency of our new Detroit affiliate is going to be. Our new Detroit affiliate is going to be CKLW in Windsor, and they cover, I don't know, 2/3 of the U.S., something like that. That'll be coming up around the 8th of February, somewhere in there. A lot of big new affiliates coming on board. CKLW, one of those. So Detroit, get ready, because here we come in a big, big way. Again, if you want to order a copy of this program, you can call 24 hours a day if you can get through. 1-800-917-4278. That's 1-800-917-4278. From UK News, the following. Listen to this, Sean. Smart cards with a personal identification code that will allow people to pay taxes, claim benefits, apply for a passport without filling out a form or speaking to an official are being now developed by the government. Scientists are working on technology that would provide each and every citizen with a unique security code for the plastic cards, which should be used in kiosks similar to telephone boxes. Though the code will initially be a PIN number, researchers are hoping to allow an individual to be identified by a fingerprint, an iris scan, or even a DNA sample. How about that?
Well, and in these same kiosks, if your iris scan or your DNA sample don't match your card, can they instantaneously vaporize you on the spot?
Well, they don't say that here, but
yeah, I just wonder if that's the next step. Yeah, they're gonna. I heard about the same thing. They're absolutely gonna do it in England first. My stepdad always used to say, he said, you watch. If you want to see what's going to happen in the United States, just watch England, because they always look at England first, and the United States is always 5 to 15 years behind what they're doing in England. And of course they can force all this stuff on people in England because they're subjects of the crown, unlike us, who are supposedly free citizens here. It's a little bit different. We have inalienable rights guaranteed by the Constitution, and we just don't have anything like that. If the Queen tells you to do something, you got to do something.
Their press isn't even free. They can be censored.
Oh yeah, of course. And they can be censored in Canada as well. And people don't realize that Canada and Australia both are there's only one citizen in the entire British United Kingdom, and that's the Queen. Just one. Everybody else is a subject as opposed to the sovereign citizens here in the United States. One other thing too, I just had a friend of mine call me. I guess he just sort of whipped up a website for me here. So, just real quick for anybody that's interested, I guess it's now at www.drumquest.com/Sean, SEAN, David, DAVID.
Wait a minute, start all over again.
www.drumquest.com/Sean David Morton. So a friend of mine just called me, and I guess he's one of those webmaster pros, and said, hey, I whipped something up for you. So, and it's got, I guess it connects to different sites, and it's got some static stuff about the newsletter and all that.
All right, I'm sure that Keith is listening right now. www.drumquest.com/Sean David Morton.
Right.
All right.
So it was just something that was just looked up real quickly for anybody that wants to check that out. And let me, can I mention newsletter one last time?
Of course, the Delphi Associates newsletter.
The Delphi Associates newsletter, once again, it's published by PRI, the Prophecy Research Institute. It's $50 for 12 issues. It's well worth it. I work real hard on it. And make checks payable to PRI and send them to 2207 Hermosa Avenue. That means beautiful in Spanish. Hermosa, Hermosa. And we're located in Hermosa Beach, California. And the zip code is 90254. Just to repeat the address one more time. It's $50. You can make checks or money orders payable by Prophecy Research Institute. And we are at 2207 Hermosa Avenue, Hermosa. That's Hermosa Beach, California, 90254. And we also have a 24-hour hotline which will repeat all that information. And that's at area code 310-310. And the phone number is 217-7579. It's 310-217-7579.
Excellent, my friend. Wildcard line, you're on the air with Sean David Morton. Hello.
Hello. My question is, I'm from Salt Lake City, but I'm Sean by Art.
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Dawn. My question is for how the elderly will more or less survive short term, say the next 5 years, if there aren't social security checks.
Well, I mean, you got a better chance in Salt Lake City just because you know, the Mormons believe in community and taking care of their own and the tithing structures and if you're not and also the Mormons say more food. I think is the entire Mormon tabernacle filled with canned food and canned goods. You see, once again, it's not really when these societal structures begin to break down. It's going to be all about knowledge and family. That's why people need to fix their family ties and start forming these communities. And of course, senior citizens are going to be valued immensely once again, simply because of their grace and wisdom and knowledge.
No, listen, I agree with Sean. You're a lot better off there. Imagine being in LA and having Social Security stuff.
Well, but wouldn't you be better off in a very small town, 60 or 70 miles from a big city?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it depends. I mean, it depends on whether or not you're growing your own food and you have access to a rural agricultural area or not. I don't think once again, it's all going to sort of collapse. It's all going to sort of fall apart rather slowly, I think. And the major cities like Los Angeles are going to get the worst because places like Los Angeles and Phoenix, I mean, we live in an artificial environment. If, the Mulholland Aqueduct is built right on top of the San Andreas Fault. And if there's a major earthquake that ruptures the Mulholland Aqueduct, we're done. You can imagine what Los Angeles is going to be like when you can't get water to the 12 million people that live here.
Have you considered moving?
I have, yeah. Not quite yet, but I mean, I believe I will by the end of next year.
All right. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Sean David Morton, who's got the flu, the remnants of the flu. Hello there.
Sorry. Hello, I'm calling from Mercer, Pennsylvania. I heard Sean say something that I totally agree with, that even the Security Council members feel that Iraq has complied as much as they possibly can with these sanctions, which, by the way, are 100 times more onerous and vicious than anything imposed on Germany after the First World War. Everybody says that was too much, but I believe that if we have not lost our soul in what Sean was talking about, used by the United States once again, weapons of mass destruction, including tactical nuclear weapons, after dropping the equivalent of 6 atomic bombs on that country, killing 250,000 people. And since that time, even according to the United Nations, causing the death of hundreds of thousands of children in that country. I think we've lost our soul, the true obscenity, the true sleaze. It has nothing to do with Clinton. I think it's the cavalier way in which we discuss this, and the hypocrisy of supporting weapons of mass destruction where we have 1,000 times more. Egypt and Saudi Arabia have chemical and biological weapons. The same with Israel by including nuclear weapons. We encourage other countries to invade other countries like Indonesia invading East Timor and wiping out a percent of the population with U.S. weaponry. When we see this kind of double standard and hypocrisy, how can we not speak up against this kind of propaganda that we're getting throughout the media that compares us to, once again, use our weapons of mass destruction against that poor project country? How would we like having these missiles coming crashing into Toronto, Nevada, or Chicago, Times Square, Washington, being terrorized constantly, our country starved and constantly tortured bodies? I agree completely, and it's ridiculous and absurd, and it just shows you, I think, how much the press controls what's going on with the opinion here. And actually, the reason was given by the Iraqi ambassador as to why they weren't allowing U.S. CIA weapons inspectors into the presidential houses is because the United States has stated rather overtly through Madeleine Albright that they want to assassinate Saddam Hussein. Why would you let somebody that wanted to kill you into your house? Which was the reasons why the U.S. inspectors were turned away, but it's also the reason why the United States is going its way alone in this conflict, because we can't get anybody to agree with the onerous treatment of the Iraqis when they've done everything that we've asked them to do. They've rebelled as low as they can go.
Yeah, I'm told now that Madeleine Albright is off, not consulting with, in terms of trying to get help from our allies, but simply telling them what we are about to do.
Right, yeah. Well, her saying that there's going to be a peaceful solution is just nonsense, and it's just, once the fourth warship gets there from England, we'll launch the attack. It doesn't matter what they say. And does it have to do with oil prices dropping in the United States? Does it have to do with the fact that we are scared to death that we let Iraqi oil back on the world market again? I don't believe that Iraq is now or has ever been a threat to the United States outside of simply threatening, the balance of power as far as oil goes. Because if we let Iraq back on the world market, then the price of gas will drop to, 90, 80 cents or something like that, some ridiculously low rate.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Sean David Morton, and good morning.
Good morning, Mark. This is Jerry in Reno listening to KOA.
Yes, sir.
I went to Reno. I got a place in Tahoe.
A beautiful place to live.
Indeed.
John, did I understand you correctly earlier to say that we do not have or know about any antibiotics that are currently effective against the flu epidemic?
I said, according to the doctor that I went to, I asked him, they gave me personally antibiotics that didn't work at all. This particular flu, he said that there were no.
Antibiotics don't work against flu, period. They work against the secondary infections you might get from the flu, like pneumonia or something like that.
Yeah. That was the point I wanted to make, because we have kind of treating facts in such a way as to create a wrong impression.
Well, when I went to the doctor, I didn't have any signs of pneumonia. Nevertheless, I got prescribed antibiotics.
Yeah, that's a prophylactic use of antibiotics.
That's right.
One of the things they talked about that has caused a lot of the drug-resistant organisms.
That's right.
But we've never had any antibiotics that work against any flu virus.
Well, the doctor said when you get a flu shot, he also told me about how they go down to Australia and they take samples of the flu for preventative measures to then come up and, I'm sorry if I left that impression. He said they missed this particular flu as far as actually being able to get the strains of the flu to be able to inject people with flu shots here. And yes, I got antibiotics, and the antibiotics didn't work at all. So,
right, but they don't work against the flu. They stop the secondary infection.
You're absolutely right. I'm sorry I left that impression.
Yeah, he's right. They give it for prophylactic reasons, preventative reasons. In other words, they assume that you may be on your way to pneumonia and they want to stop that cold.
Right.
And so I understand that. I mean, a doctor does what he thinks is best for his individual patient, but that leads to an awful lot of dispensing of an awful lot of antibiotics that eventually results in the overcoming of antibiotics by all of these little things that are going to get us. First time caller line, you're on the air with Sean David Morton. Hi.
Hello, Art and Sean. This is Bill from Southern Illinois.
Yes, sir.
And Art, if I could, I wanted to make a quick statement about one of the investigations you're calling on for.
All right.
I did a reversal on that, and you would not believe how many reversal statements I got out of that. You should hear some of that reverse for yourself.
Keep getting on it.
Okay. Also, Sean, I wanted to ask about It seemed like a lot of the sightings and abductions that I've seen from my own experience, not that I have been abducted or had any sightings myself, but it seems like a lot of them are coming from near large bodies of water, and we were to get any statements on that. And the shape of the ships, we said, were in the shape of Alpha and Omega. Yes. And I wondered if those are the ones that were here, does that have any biblical coincidence? I think they do. I mean, geez, when you have these gigantic craft that look like giant A's or boomerangs and ships that look like, sort of rounded ovals with two big fins off either side, I mean, what else could it be? That's one of the reasons why I mentioned it, that these craft are rather ominously shaped like alphas and omegas. The other thing is that you're right, there's a huge amount of UFO sightings underwater and above water, and around water. Around water, they 2/3 of the Earth's surface is water, so what better place for them to hide or have bases? Another aspect of this is that there's been numerous reports of these craft, specifically large cigar-shaped, metallic-looking silver tubular craft. That's right. Actually over freshwater bodies taking on water. In other words, actually just sucking water up into the craft. Hundreds and hundreds of metric tons of water up into the ships. The only explanation I was given from this again from a contactee is that these were. This is just a story that I was told, that these were supposedly people from many thousands of years in the future that are looking for, supplies here from Earth. That's the only thing I can, that's the only explanation that I've gotten from anybody that claims to have any contact.
Sean, is the weight of your predictive ability something that hangs on you heavily? In other words, do you feel a great responsibility knowing these things?
Yes, and one of the reasons why I started the newsletter was to try to get the information out there. Of course, obviously, you're hanging it out over the line, every month when you're trying to do this. And the reason I started the newsletter was because when I came back from the monastery in Nepal, and the first major earthquake event that I predicted was this gigantic earthquake in the Loma Prieta earthquake in San Francisco in 1989. Right. And I went to Mount Shasta on the 1st of October with a group of about 25, 30 people to try to do prayers and try to do meditations and try to absorb and deflect the energy, and then to have the quake happen 17 days later and not have any way to warn anybody, not have anybody way to tell it, other than taking off my clothes and getting sick and putting ash on my head and walking through downtown San Francisco. Not through the Castro district.
Can we deflect these events? Is there any way to do that, or are these things really predestined? Does there come a point where they're going to happen no matter what?
In some instances, the only thing I can say is that the planet itself is very much like a college. It's this is not a sacred world. It's a university. It's a school planet, and so people come here to learn very, very specific things. Now, the question is, do you study hard when you first get here, when you're a freshman, and you get all your requirements out of the way, or do you put them all off until you're just about to graduate, and then have to pull the all-nighters and do all the suffering in order to finally get out of school? So the quantum of the future, I don't think can be changed, because the aspect of it has a lot to do with it being a group reality. You literally have some 6 billion people on the planet who are all creating the universe as we know it as sort of a gigantic hologram. And I found a way to not only tap into the consciousness of the planet, but also to tap into that mass consciousness to see very specific events before they occur. And of course, the greatest aspect of this is that if I did not believe that prophecy and prediction cannot be changed by intelligent action, I wouldn't be doing this at all. I mean, there would be really no point in it.
So at some point, the future is malleable, but by the time you generally see it and make a prediction, it's a done deal.
Yes. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that is set in stone. I would say that we have already managed to change time substantially from 1993 on, from 1989 on. And there was a reality in which we had the very real aspect of the Edgar Casey predictions of the entire West Coast falling into the ocean That is no longer happening anymore, and I believe it's happening because humanity has woken up its spirit, we've woken up in our hearts, we've woken up more and more to our relationships with God and the Creator and each other. And I think that the greatest thing is that mankind's destiny is back in his own hands, but that's also bad news as well.
That's it, my friend. We're out of time. Another incredible program.